Doctor moved through the observation deck of the research vessel Gentle Current with the grace of floating silk. Her translucent skin shifted colors as she studied the data streams flowing across the biodisplays. The six-member crew had been traveling through the Outer Rim system for 3 cycles now, collecting samples of exotic plant life that might hold secrets to extending there already long. They had evolved on a world where the greatest danger was stepping on a singing flower and disturbing its melody. Their technology reflected this peaceful existence. The Gentle Current was built like a delicate butterfly, all curves and soft edges. Its hull was made from living coral that could heal small scratches, and its engines hummed so quietly that they barely disturbed the cosmic silence. Fascinating readings from the asteroid field ahead called out junior researcher Miss Through Valleys from her station. Her voice carried the musical quality that all possessed. The mineral composition suggests these rocks formed near an ancient star that went nova. Doctor drifted over to examine the data. The asteroid field stretched across several thousand kilometers of space. Most of the rocks were small, no bigger than ground vehicles. A few larger ones spun slowly in the darkness. Nothing appeared dangerous to their sensors. "Shall we take the ship through for a closer look?" asked Navigator Windover Plains. His 4 primary eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the flight path calculations. "We can move slowly and collect samples as we go." Doctor considered this. The Galactic Confederation had strict rules about safety, but these were mostly about not disturbing primitive civilizations or damaging natural wonders. The idea that space itself might be dangerous rarely occurred to species like theirs. "Yes, but maintain minimum velocity," she decided. "I want detailed scans of every rock formation." The Gentle Current began its gentle drift into the asteroid field. The crew watched in wonder as ancient space rocks floated past their transparent walls. Some were rich with metals that sparkled like jewels. Others showed signs of organic compounds that had been frozen for millions of years. Researcher Echoing Caverns worked at the collection bay, using soft energy beams to gather small samples. Everything was working perfectly. The ship's biosystems reported optimal conditions. The crew felt that pleasant satisfaction that came with successful scientific work. The hidden asteroid was no bigger than a child's toy. It had been spinning in the shadow of a larger rock, invisible to the ship's sensors. Some cosmic accident billions of years ago had compressed its core with unusual metals that created strange properties. When the Gentle Current's gentle energy beam touched it, something unexpected happened. The beam reflected back with triple the power. Warning sounds like soft chimes began playing throughout the ship. Doctor looked at the displays with growing confusion. The readings showed massive energy feedback flowing through their systems. "What is happening?" she asked. Engineer Duan Leaves was the first to understand. His pale blue face went even paler as he read the energy flow patterns. "The reflection beam is overloading our primary engine matrix. The biocircuits cannot handle this much power." On a world where the most complex machines were flower presses, no one had ever designed technology to handle unexpected energy surges. The engines were living things that had been grown rather than built. They were wonderful for steady, peaceful travel, but they had never encountered anything like this. Sparks that looked like tiny lightning began dancing across the engine displays. The living coral that formed the ship's hull started changing colors in patterns that meant distress. "Can we shut down the collection beam?" Doctor asked. "I am trying," Echoing Caverns replied, her voice higher with worry. "The beam controls are not responding." The ship began to shake. This was something completely outside the experience of any. Their world had no earthquakes, no storms, no natural disasters of any kind. The sensation of their vessel moving against their will was terrifying. Navigator Windover Plains worked desperately at his controls. "I am trying to move us away from the asteroid field, but the engines are not responding properly. More warning chimes joined the first ones. Soon the bridge was filled with the sound of gentle bells ringing in patterns that meant danger. The biodisplays showed systems failing one by one as the energy feedback continued to flow through the ship. "The engine core is dying," Engineer Duan Leaves announced. His voice carried the kind of sadness usually reserved for wilted flowers. "The biocircuits cannot repair themselves fast enough." Doctor felt something she had never experienced before. Fear was not an emotion that we're used to feeling. Their world had bred it out of them over millions of years of peaceful evolution. But now, floating helpless in the cold darkness of space, she began to understand what their ancient ancestors might have felt. "How long do we have?" she asked. "The backup life support systems will function for perhaps 20 cycles," Duan Leaves replied after checking several displays. "But without engines, we cannot leave this system. We are trapped." The word "trapped" hit the crew like a cold wind. They looked at each other with wide eyes. None of them had ever imagined being in a situation where they could not simply ask for help and receive it. "We must send a distress signal," Doctor decided. "Surely someone will hear us." Communications specialist Rain Stones worked at her station with delicate fingers. "I am broadcasting on all standard Confederation frequencies. Our message includes our location, the nature of our emergency, and a request for immediate assistance." The message went out into the vast darkness of space, carrying the hope of 6 beings who had never known real danger before. They settled in to wait, believing that help would come quickly because help always came quickly in their civilized part of the galaxy. But they were far from the safe, peaceful worlds of the Confederation. Out here in the Rim systems, different rules applied. Out here, the universe was still wild and dangerous, and the first ship to hear their call for help was crewed by beings from a world where danger was just another word for Tuesday. The Iron Maiden picked up their distress signal while hauling cargo through the same system. Captain Sarah listened to the message with the practiced attention of someone who had answered many such calls. She told her crew, "Engine failure, they sound scared." Her human crew exchanged glances that the peaceful aliens would not have understood. These were looks that said, "Another rescue mission, and better prep for complications, and hope they are not in Void Stalker territory." Captain set course for the stranded research vessel, not knowing that she was about to give 6 peaceful scientists the education of several lifetimes. The Iron Maiden came out of hyperspace like a predator emerging from tall grass. Doctor watched through the observation port as the human vessel approached, and her first thought was that something was terribly wrong. The ship looked like it had been through a war. Scars ran across its hull where metal patches covered old damage. Strange bumps and additions stuck out at odd angles. What appeared to be weapon ports dotted the sides. Most disturbing of all, the entire vessel had a look of controlled violence that made the skin shift to nervous purple patterns. "They look dangerous," whispered Miss Through Valleys, pressing closer to the observation port. "Perhaps their ship was damaged too," suggested Windover Plains hopefully. "Maybe they also had an accident." Doctor was not so sure. She had studied many species as part of her xenobiology work, but she had never encountered anything like this. The approaching ship moved with purpose and confidence that spoke of long experience with hostile environments. A communication signal came through their systems. The voice was clear and direct in a way that made the musical speech sound like wind chimes in comparison. "Research Vessel Gentle Current, this is Captain Sarah of the cargo freighter Iron Maiden. We received your distress call. What is the nature of your emergency?" Doctor activated their communication system. "Captain, we are grateful for your response. We are experiencing complete engine failure after an unexpected energy feedback event. Our biosystems are failing and we cannot repair them." There was a pause, then Captain's voice returned with what sounded like confusion. Biosystems. Are you saying your engines are alive? Of course, Doctor replied, puzzled. How else would you grow a starship? Our vessel is a living organism bred for space travel. Another pause. This time Doctor could hear other voices speaking in the background, though she could not understand their rapid, harsh-sounding language. Right, Captain said finally. We are going to dock with your vessel. My engineering team will assess your situation and see what we can do to help. We are very grateful, Doctor began, but the communication had already ended. 20 minutes later, the Iron Maiden had attached itself to the gentle current with mechanical arms that looked strong enough to crush the delicate research vessel. Doctor gathered her crew in the main laboratory to meet their rescuers. The first human through the airlock was Captain herself. She was shorter than but moved with a quick efficiency that reminded Doctor of hunting animals from her ancient studies. The captain wore practical clothing that looked designed for dangerous work. A device that was clearly some kind of weapon hung at her side. Behind her came 3 more humans. Each one carried tools and equipment, but also wore protective gear and what appeared to be personal weapons. They moved through the airlock like they were entering potentially hostile territory. Doctor, I presume. Captain extended her hand in what Doctor recognized as a human greeting gesture. Yes, thank you for responding to our call, Doctor replied, carefully taking the offered hand. The human's grip was firm and warm in a way that surprised her. This is Chief Engineer, Medical Officer, and Security Specialist Walker, Captain introduced her crew. I want you to look at their engine systems. Check if anyone needs medical attention. Walker, secure the perimeter. Doctor blinked in confusion. Secure the perimeter. Are you expecting trouble? Captain looked at her with an expression that could not read. Ma'am, we are in an uncharted system responding to a distress call. We always expect trouble. Engineer was already moving toward the engine compartment with tools that looked far more aggressive than anything they used. Bioengines, he muttered to himself. This should be interesting. Medical officer approached the crew with a device that was obviously a scanner. Anyone injured, feeling sick, any exposure to radiation or toxic substances. They looked at each other with growing confusion. None of these concepts were part of their normal experience. Their world had no radiation dangerous to living beings. They had never heard of toxic substances because their planet had evolved everything to live in harmony. We do not understand, Doctor admitted. Injured, our ship protects us from all harm. Medical officer paused in her scanning. Right, well, let me just run some basic checks anyway. Security Specialist Walker was walking around the laboratory, examining everything with suspicious eyes. He picked up a research tool and hefted it like he was testing its weight as a weapon. Excuse me, called out Echoing Caverns nervously. What is he doing? Standard security sweep, Captain explained casually, making sure there are no threats or dangerous materials. But this is a research vessel, Doctor protested. We study flowers and small organisms. What threats could there be? Captain stopped and looked at her carefully. Doctor, where exactly are you from? The Zephyr system, of course. We are members of the Galactic Confederation. Captain nodded slowly. Right, you are from the core worlds. That explains a lot. From the engine compartment came a string of words that Doctor was certain were curses, though she did not recognize the language. Report, Captain called out. Captain, this is the weirdest damn thing I have ever seen, came the reply. Their engines really are alive. It looks like some kind of bioelectrical organism that has been bred to convert energy into propulsion, and it is dying. Can you fix it? Maybe, but it would be easier to just install a real engine. Doctor felt her skin shift to shocked orange. Install a real engine. But bioengines are the only safe way to travel through space. Captain stared at her. Safe? Lady, you are stranded in the middle of nowhere with dying engines. How is that safe? But mechanical engines could explode, Doctor explained. They could malfunction and harm the crew. And bioengines can die and leave you floating in space waiting to starve, Captain replied. Everything has risks. Engineer appeared in the doorway, his tools covered in some kind of biofluid from the engines. Captain, I think I can stabilize their system temporarily, but they are going to need major repairs at a proper shipyard. How long for the temporary fix? 6 hours if nothing goes wrong, 12 hours if we run into complications. Captain nodded. Do it. What is the crew status? They are all healthy, but they show signs of severe stress. I think they have never experienced an emergency before. Walker, anything? All clear, Captain. No weapons, no dangerous materials, no security threats. They really are just scientists. Captain looked around at the crew, who were watching this exchange with wide eyes. Their skin colors were shifting through patterns that clearly indicated confusion and growing concern. Doctor, Captain said gently, my crew is going to work on your engines. We will get you mobile again. But I think there are some things about the universe that you might not know. What do you mean? Captain gestured toward the hull of her own ship, visible through the observation port. Space is dangerous. There are pirates, raiders, hostile aliens, and 1,000 ways to die out here. Most species learn to protect themselves. But the Galactic Confederation maintains peace, Doctor protested. In the core worlds, maybe. Out here in the rim systems, different rules apply. As if summoned by her words, the communication system suddenly activated with an incoming signal. Captain listened to her earpiece for a moment, then her expression went hard. How long until those engines are working? At least 4 hours, Captain. Captain activated her communicator. Iron Maiden, prepare for possible hostiles. We have multiple contacts approaching fast. Doctor watched in growing alarm as the humans suddenly transformed from helpful rescuers into something altogether more frightening. They moved with practiced efficiency, checking weapons and equipment with casual competence that spoke of long experience with danger. What is happening? She asked. Captain looked at her with eyes that held no fear, only grim determination. Doctor, you are about to learn why humans evolved on what we call a... The Void Stalker ships came out of hyperspace like wolves scenting blood. 3 sleek vessels with hulls that seemed to absorb light, making them appear as moving holes in the star field. Doctor watched the scanner displays with growing horror as the ship spread out in what was clearly an attack formation. What are those ships? She asked Captain, though part of her already suspected the answer. Void Stalkers, Captain replied, her voice carrying the kind of calm that came before a storm. Raiders, they hunt ships like yours. The words hit the crew like ice water. Raiders were something from ancient history, stories told to young ones about the dark times before civilization. They were not supposed to exist anymore. But the Galactic Confederation eliminated piracy centuries ago, protested Windover Plains, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Not out here they didn't, Captain said, already activating communication channels to her own ship. Iron Maiden, this is the captain. Go to battle stations. Prep all defensive systems. Doctor listened to the rapid exchange of information between Captain and her crew. Terms like torpedo tubes, shield generators, and targeting systems meant nothing to but the tone was clear. These humans were preparing for war. Wait, Doctor said, moving to the communication controls. Perhaps we can reason with them. Surely they will accept our research data in exchange for safe passage. She activated the ship's communication system before Captain could stop her. Unknown vessels, this is Doctor of the research vessel Gentle Current. We are peaceful scientists on a mission of exploration. We offer our complete research database in exchange for safe passage. The reply came quickly, transmitted in the common trade language but spoken with a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Vessel, you will surrender all crew members for processing. Your ship and cargo will be claimed as salvage. Resistance will result in termination." Doctor felt her skin go completely white. Processing. She had read about that in historical documents. It meant slavery or worse. "Counter-proposal," Captain said, taking control of the communication system. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Sarah of the Earth Defense Corps. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Laughter came through the speakers. Cruel, mechanical laughter that made the huddle together in terror. "One human cargo vessel against 3 Void Stalker destroyers," the raider voice replied. "Your death will be quick, human." "Famous last words," Captain muttered, cutting the communication. She turned to Doctor. "Get your crew to the safest part of your ship. Stay away from the outer hull." "But surely we can negotiate," Doctor insisted. "Violence is never the answer." Captain looked at her with an expression that mixed pity and amazement. "Doctor, those ships out there have killed thousands of innocent beings. They don't negotiate. They take what they want and destroy the rest." "Then we should surrender," said Miss Through Valleys, her voice shaking. "If we give them what they want, perhaps they will spare us." "They won't," Captain said flatly. "Void Stalkers don't take prisoners unless they plan to sell them as slaves, and they don't leave witnesses." The reality of the situation was finally sinking in for the crew. These were not civilized beings who could be reasoned with. These were predators, something their peaceful world had never prepared them to face. Through the observation port, they could see the Iron Maiden transforming. Panels slid back to reveal weapon systems. Strange devices extended from the hull. What had looked like a battered cargo ship was revealing itself to be something entirely different. Captain spoke into her communicator. "How long until the engines are functional?" 2 hours minimum, Captain. The biosystems are responding to treatment, but I cannot rush the healing process." "What is the crew's status aboard Iron Maiden?" "All hands at battle stations. Weapons charged and ready. We are as ready as we are going to get." "Walker security status?" "Perimeter secured. No signs of boarding preparations from the raiders yet. They are probably going to start with long-range attacks." Doctor listened to this exchange with growing amazement. The humans were coordinating their response with the same calm efficiency they had shown when examining the broken engines. For them, preparing for battle was just another job to be done. "How can you be so calm?" she asked Captain. "Experience," Captain replied. "This is not our first encounter with hostiles." "But you could die," Doctor protested. "Yes, we could," Captain agreed. "But so could you, and you didn't choose this fight. We did." The first attack came without warning. Energy beams lanced through space from the Void Stalker ships, striking the Iron Maiden's shields with brilliant flashes. The human ship returned fire immediately, its weapons painting lines of light across the darkness. The crew watched in terrified fascination as the battle unfolded. The Iron Maiden moved like a living thing, dodging and weaving between the asteroid field while maintaining continuous fire on its attackers. Captain stood at the observation port, speaking calmly into her communicator as she coordinated the fight. "I need more power to forward shields." "You've got it, Captain." "Damage report. Minor hits to sections 7 and 12. No casualties." "Walker, what are those bastards doing?" "2 ships are trying to flank us. The third is moving to attack the research vessel." Doctor felt her heart stop. One of the Void Stalker ships was approaching the gentle current, its weapons charging for what could only be a killing blow. "They are going to destroy us," she whispered. "No, they are not," Captain said firmly. She activated her communicator again. "Iron Maiden, this is the Captain. Implement Plan Delta." "Confirmed, Captain. Plan Delta." Doctor watched in amazement as the human ship suddenly changed tactics. Instead of continuing to fight defensively, it charged straight at the Void Stalker ship approaching the research vessel. The Iron Maiden took heavy damage from enemy fire, but it kept coming. At the last moment, the human ship fired everything it had. Missiles, energy beams, and weapons that Doctor had never seen before all converged on the raider vessel. The Void Stalker ship's shields collapsed under the assault, and its hull began to buckle. But the cost was enormous. The Iron Maiden had taken massive damage. Warning lights flashed across its hull, and atmosphere vented from several breaches. "Status report," Captain demanded. "We hurt them bad," replied, his voice strained. "But we took a beating too. Engines are at 60%. Weapons are down to 40% capacity. 3 injuries, all minor. The crew is holding together." "Walker." "The damaged raider is retreating, but the other 2 are regrouping. They will be back." Doctor looked at Captain with new eyes. The human had just risked her ship and crew to protect strangers from a species she had never met before. It was a concept that the mind could barely process. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you do that?" Captain turned from the observation port to look at her. "Because it was the right thing to do." "But you could have escaped. You could have left us and saved yourselves." "Yes, we could have," Captain agreed. "But we didn't. That's what separates us from them." Through the observation port, the 2 remaining Void Stalker ships could be seen moving into new attack positions. They had learned from the first encounter and were approaching more carefully. "They are coming back," observed echoing caverns unnecessarily. "Yes, they are," Captain said. "But this time we know what to expect." She activated her communicator once more. "All stations, this is the captain. Round 2 is about to begin. Let's show these predators what happens when they threaten the innocent." Doctor felt something stirring in her chest that she had never experienced before. It took her a moment to identify the emotion. It was hope, mixed with something else. Admiration. These humans from their dangerous world had not only refused to abandon peaceful strangers, they had actively chosen to fight overwhelming odds to protect them. The Void Stalkers were coming back, but Doctor was beginning to understand that they were facing something they had never encountered before. They were facing humans who had chosen to stand and fight. The second attack began differently. The Void Stalkers had learned from their first encounter with the humans. Instead of charging in recklessly, they moved with coordinated precision, using the asteroid field for cover while maintaining careful formation. Doctor watched from the observation port as the enemy ships played a deadly game of hide and seek among the floating rocks. Energy beams lanced out from hidden positions, forcing the Iron Maiden to constantly maneuver to avoid being caught in crossfire. They have adapted their tactics, observed Windover planes with the detached interest of a scientist studying predator behavior. "So have we," Captain replied grimly. She was coordinating the battle from the research vessel's bridge while her crew fought from their damaged ship. "What is the status on our improvised modifications?" "Charges are set, Captain. We can turn those asteroids into weapons if needed." Doctor blinked in confusion. "You can do what?" "Mining charges," Captain explained without taking her eyes off the tactical display. "Attach them to several large asteroids. If we time it right, we can create a debris field that will force the raiders into our firing solution." The casual way the humans discussed turning their environment into a weapon left the speechless. On their world, the idea of deliberately destroying natural formations was unthinkable. "Contact bearing 27 Mark 5, reported Walker's voice through the communicator. "They are trying to flank us again." "Status on crew injuries." "Took a hit when that last energy beam penetrated our hull. Minor burns, but he is staying at his post." "Can he continue?" "Try to stop me, Captain," his voice cut in, sounding slightly strained but determined. Doctor marveled at this exchange. The human engineer was injured but continuing to work. On Zephyr, any injury would result in immediate medical treatment and extended recovery time. There, Captain pointed at the tactical display. They are moving into the trap. The Iron Maiden suddenly accelerated toward what appeared to be a suicide run at the larger Void Stalker vessel. The raiders, seeing an opportunity to finish off the damaged human ship, moved to intercept. Now, the asteroids exploded in sequence, creating an expanding cloud of rock and debris that caught the Void Stalker ships like flies in a web. Their sleek hulls, designed for space combat, were not built to handle impacts from high-velocity rock fragments. "Target the damaged one," Captain ordered. "Full spread everything we have." The Iron Maiden opened fire with every weapon system still functioning. The damaged Void Stalker, struggling to maneuver through the debris field, took the full force of the attack. Its hull cracked like an egg, and atmosphere vented in brilliant streams. But the victory came at a cost. The remaining Void Stalker ship, no longer concerned with preserving salvage, opened fire with its most powerful weapons. The energy beams struck the Iron Maiden with devastating force. "Hull breach in Section 4, reported, her voice tense. "We have lost life support in the forward compartments." "Engines are failing," added. "I can give you maybe 20 minutes of maneuvering power." "Weapons?" "Down to 30%, and we are almost out of missiles." Doctor watched the humans continue to coordinate their defense even as their ship was being destroyed around them. There was no panic in their voices, no suggestion of surrender. They simply adapted their tactics to match their diminishing capabilities. "Captain," Walker's voice came through the communicator with unusual urgency. "The remaining raider is charging its main weapons. I think they are going for a kill shot on the research vessel." Through the observation port, Doctor could see the last Void Stalker ship approaching. Its weapons were glowing with the kind of energy buildup that meant complete destruction. "They are going to destroy us," whispered Miss Through Valleys. "No," Captain said firmly, "they are not." She activated her communicator one final time. "Iron Maiden, this is Captain. Implement Plan Omega." There was a pause, then's voice came through, sounding shocked. "Captain, Plan Omega will destroy the ship." "Execute the order." Doctor asked, "What is Plan Omega?" Captain looked at her with eyes that held no fear, only grim determination. "We are going to ram them." The words hit Doctor like a physical blow. "But you will die." "Maybe, but you will live." Doctor watched in horror and amazement as the Iron Maiden turned toward the approaching Void Stalker ship. The human vessel was badly damaged, venting atmosphere and trailing debris, but it still moved with purpose. The Void Stalker captain must have realized what was happening, because the raider ship tried to change course. But the Iron Maiden was already committed to its attack run. "All crew prepare for evacuation," Captain announced. "You have 2 minutes to get to the escape pods." "Captain's voice came through the communicator. "The crew refuses to abandon ship while you are still aboard." "That is a direct order." "With respect, Captain, go to hell." Doctor listened to this exchange with growing understanding. The human crew was not just following orders. They were choosing to stay together, to face whatever came as a unit. "Can you get the engines back online for 60 seconds? "I can give you 30 seconds at full power." "Damage control." "All critical systems are secured. We are as ready as we can be." "Walker weapons." "I have 1 missile left, Captain, saving it for point-blank range." The Iron Maiden accelerated toward the Void Stalker ship like a bullet fired from a gun. The raider vessel opened fire with everything it had, trying to stop the human ship before it could complete its suicide run. Energy beams tore through the Iron Maiden's hull, ripping away sections of armor and destroying entire compartments. But the human ship kept coming. At the last moment, Walker fired the final missile. At point-blank range, there was no way to miss. The warhead struck the Void Stalker's bridge, and the enemy ship's return fire ceased as its command center was destroyed. The two vessels collided with an impact that lit up the asteroid field. Metal screamed against metal as the Iron Maiden drove deep into the raider ship's hull. Secondary explosions rippled through both vessels as their power systems overloaded. Doctor watched in stunned silence as the two ships, locked together in their final embrace, drifted away from the research vessel. Emergency lights flickered across both hulls, and debris continued to spread through space. "Are they alive?" asked Echoing Caverns in a whisper. Before Doctor could answer, the communication system activated. "Gentle Current, this is Captain. We are alive, but our ship is dead. Request immediate evacuation." Relief flooded through the crew. Doctor activated the communication system with shaking hands. "Captain, we are preparing to receive you immediately." "Negative, secure your ship first. The Void Stalker vessel might still have crew alive. Walker is sweeping for survivors." Even now, even after ramming an enemy ship to save strangers, the humans were still thinking tactically. They were still protecting others before protecting themselves. 10 minutes later, Captain and her crew came aboard the research vessel. They were battered, bleeding, and covered in soot from their dying ship, but they were alive. Doctor looked at these remarkable beings who had just sacrificed their vessel to save her crew. "How can we ever repay you?" Captain looked around at her crew, then back at the scientist. "Just remember what you saw here today. Remember that some beings will fight to protect the innocent, no matter the cost." Outside the observation port, the wreckage of the Iron Maiden and the Void Stalker ship continued to drift through space. It was a monument to the courage of beings who had refused to let evil triumph. Doctor was beginning to understand that the universe contained both types of species, those who preyed on the weak and those who stood guard against the predators. Today, she had learned which type the humans were. The medical bay of the Gentle Current had never been designed for treating combat injuries. Doctor watched as her crew worked alongside medical officer to treat the wounded humans using a combination of healing techniques and human medical knowledge. Engineer sat on an examination table while Echoing Caverns used a biohealing device to treat the burns on his arms. The device, grown from healing coral, worked by encouraging natural tissue regeneration. "That is amazing," said, watching his skin heal in real time. "On Earth, burns like these would take weeks to heal properly." "Your species fascinates us as well," Echoing Caverns replied, her skin shifting to curious green patterns. "How do you function with such limited natural healing capabilities?" "We improvise," answered with a tired smile. "We build tools to do what our bodies cannot." Doctor observed this exchange with growing wonder. Despite their vast differences, the two species were finding ways to help each other. The humans had saved them with violence and sacrifice, while they could offer healing and restoration. Captain stood at the observation port, looking out at the wreckage of her ship. Security Specialist Walker approached her with a report. "Captain, I have finished examining the Void Stalker vessel. All crew are confirmed dead. Their ship is too damaged to be a threat." "Any salvageable technology?" "Their weapons systems are fried, but some of their navigation equipment might be useful. Should I organize a salvage operation?" Captain considered this. "Check with Doctor first. This is her rescue mission now." Doctor approached them, having overheard the conversation. "Please take whatever you need. Without your sacrifice, that ship would have destroyed us all." "We appreciate that," Captain said. "But what we really need is transportation back to human space." "Of course," Doctor replied immediately. "Our engines are healing well thanks to Engineer. We can easily reach the nearest Confederation station." She paused, then continued with genuine curiosity. "Captain, may I ask you some questions about your people?" Fire away. Doctor gestured toward the wreckage outside. Why did you do it? Why did you risk everything for strangers you had never met? Captain was quiet for a moment, considering the question. Where I come from, we have a saying, evil triumphs when good beings do nothing. We could not do nothing. But you could have escaped, Doctor pressed. You could have saved yourselves. And left you to be murdered by raiders. No, Captain's voice carried absolute certainty. That is not who we are. Doctor felt her skin shift through several color patterns as she processed this concept. On Zephyr, we have eliminated the need for such choices. There is no evil to stand against. That must be peaceful, Captain said. It is, Doctor agreed. But perhaps it has made us weak. When faced with true evil, we had no idea how to respond. From across the medical bay, Windover planes called out, Doctor, you should see this. She moved to where the navigator was working with the ship's communication systems. What is it? I have been monitoring Galactic Confederation communication channels. Word of our rescue is spreading rapidly. What are they saying? Windover planes activated the display, showing message traffic from across the galaxy. The story is being told and retold. A human cargo ship destroyed 3 Void Stalker raiders to protect a research vessel. The Confederation Council is asking for details. Doctor read through the messages with growing amazement. The peaceful civilizations of the galaxy were reacting to the news with shock and wonder. Many had never heard of humans before. Others knew them only as traders and merchants from the Outer Rim. Look at this one. Windover planes pointed to a message from the Delicate Harmony Collective. They are asking if humans are available as security consultants. And this one, added Miss Through Valleys, joining them. The Crystal Song Empire wants to know if humans would be willing to patrol their trade routes. Captain listened to this with an expression that mixed amusement and concern. I think your people might be getting the wrong idea about us. What do you mean? Asked Doctor. We are not a military service for hire, Captain explained. We help people because it is right, not because we are paid to do it. Doctor felt her understanding of humans deepen even further. You do not fight for profit. Some humans do, Captain admitted. But most of us fight to protect what matters. Family, friends, innocent people who cannot protect themselves. Engineer appeared beside them, his injuries fully healed by biotechnology. Captain, I have been working with their engineering crew to understand their biosystems. It is incredible technology. Could it be adapted for human use? Possibly, but more importantly, I think our technologies could complement each other. Human engineering could make their ships more resilient, while their biotechnology could make our ships self-repairing. Doctor felt excitement building in her chest. You are suggesting a technological exchange program. Why not? Said with enthusiasm. Your people are brilliant scientists and healers. My people are good at building things that can survive hostile environments. Together, we could create wonders. Captain nodded thoughtfully. It has potential, but first we need to get everyone home safely. Over the next several hours, as the gentle currents bioengines continued their healing process, the two species worked together to organize their next steps. The humans salvaged what they could from their ship, while they prepared for the journey to the nearest Confederation station. Doctor found herself in the ship's laboratory, recording her observations about the remarkable beings who had saved them. Personal log, Doctor, Research Cycle 47. Today we encountered a species that has fundamentally changed my understanding of the universe. Humans, from a world they call Earth, have shown us that there are beings who choose to stand between innocent life and those who would do it harm. She paused, watching through the observation port as Captain worked alongside her crew to prepare for departure. They call their world and now I understand why. It is not because their planet seeks to kill them, but because it has taught them to value life by showing them how precious and fragile it is. They have learned to fight not because they love violence, but because they love peace enough to defend it. The ship's communication system activated with an incoming message from Confederation headquarters. Research Vessel Gentle Current. This is Admiral flowing through starlight of the Confederation Defense Division. We have received reports of your encounter with Void Stalker raiders. Please confirm the details. Doctor activated the communication system. Admiral, the reports are accurate. We were saved by Captain Sarah and the crew of the human vessel Iron Maiden. They destroyed 3 raider ships at the cost of their own vessel. Remarkable. Doctor, the Council has asked me to extend an invitation to Captain and her people. We would like them to address the Confederation Assembly. Doctor looked at Captain, who had overheard the conversation. The human captain shrugged. Why not? But I speak for my crew, not my entire species. Understood, Captain, the Admiral replied. We simply want to learn more about people who would risk everything to protect strangers. As the gentle current prepared to jump to hyperspace, Doctor stood beside Captain at the observation port. Outside, the wreckage of the battle drifted slowly through space. Captain, Doctor said quietly, I want you to know that what happened here today will not be forgotten. Your sacrifice will be remembered by every peaceful species in the galaxy. Captain nodded. Good. Maybe it will inspire others to stand up when they need to. I believe it will, Doctor said. In fact, I am certain of it. As the ship entered hyperspace, carrying them toward the safety of Confederation territory, Doctor made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. The peaceful species of the galaxy had found their protectors. Now, they just had to convince the humans to accept the role. The Age of the Guardians was about to begin.